Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Meet Our Members series. I'm Bella. I'm the social media manager here, and I'm here with Lulu French, the director of Rocket Improv. Welcome, Lulu.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I'm very excited to talk about your company. So can you start by telling us a little bit about Rocket Improv?
Sure. So, just to give a little bit of background, I started improvising back in the late 90s, and I taught and performed in New York City for many years and moved out to New Jersey. And I'd had the opportunity to work as a teaching artist with kids, and I really loved it. So I thought I can continue that out here, starting my own business, teaching improv to kids, tweens, teens, and it's been really fun. We also do improv workshops or shows for private parties, kids' birthday parties, corporate events. So we have a lot of different offerings. We are also offering Dungeons and Dragons sessions for kids. We just started offering it for adults, trying to grow that part of it. But yeah, it's been really fun growing it and working with the community.
Great. That sounds awesome. So can you tell us, for maybe anyone who doesn't know, what is improv and what are maybe some misconceptions about improv?
Oof, yes, it is a mystery to a lot of people. And when I have beginner students, especially adult beginners who have some familiarity with improv, I explain to them that the beginner class is going to like pull the curtain back. You know, it's kind of like the magician showing their tricks. People think it's just getting up and making something up, which feels very stressful. But it is so much more than that. It is less stressful than that, actually. That is like the illusion that people see. Oh my gosh, it's people just getting up there and making stuff up and being funny. Is I find it's easier to compare it to Whose Line Is It Anyway, which a lot of people are familiar with. It's basically improvisational actors coming up on a stage and making things up off the top of their head in a way that looks like magic. But it is a skill and it can be learned. So when I get the opportunity to do a corporate workshop, I just get 1 hour with them. And I tell them that, especially those who admit they're feeling a little nervous before we start, that they'll find that it's not as difficult because it's really a team effort. So unlike stand-up, which is, solo, right? Improv, you are not just your own person and having your own ideas. You are working with other people and you're being inspired. And really the trick to learning improv is letting go of control and being present in the moment and be listening and adding on to other people's ideas. And that really is the tough part, building that trust with yourself and your teammates that you don't need to pre-plan anything. All you need to do is listen and take everything in and build on that. And then that's how you are able to keep moving forward and eventually find something that's funny, because we're not accustomed to seeing people out of control. But that's really what we're seeing is like, oh my gosh, the agreement, right? The yes and the agreement is really funny, because usually if, like, someone would call someone a moron in real life on stage, they'd be like, I know, I don't know what I'm doing. Right? So, it's the agreement. That's so funny.
And I think people get nervous because when you're anxious about performing, it's hard to let go of that control, right? And to just give yourself up to the scenario and add on to a scene and listen. Because when you're stressed, you kind of tighten up and, and maybe don't want to.
Yes.
You just want to.
You can't listen.
It. Right.
Right. So, especially for someone who is learning improv,
Mm-hmm.
they will be doing exercises with other people,
Mm-hmm.
so that they are not like the only one having to contribute to an idea. Like conducted story, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You get maybe 5 people or kind of standing together, shoulder to shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
and then the conductor will like indicate to someone to tell part of the story
Mm-hmm.
and then stop them and indicate to somebody else to continue telling the story.
Yeah.
So when you improvise, there are rules and there's structure, and you're improvising within those guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then you have all 5 people who are trying to tell the same story.
Right.
And that's important. Like, it's not about your idea and where you want the story to go.
Right.
You're trying to tell the story that everybody is trying to tell.
Right.
And so within a 1 hour corporate workshop, they can do that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, that was easy. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. People do this game on stage. Like, that is
Yeah.
something you can perform, and you can learn that, within 15 minutes.
You talked a little bit about how you got started in improv. Can you get more into that? Your background?
How long is this going to be? Okay, I'll try
the
to
highlights.
okay. I grew up dancing and singing.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a ballet company. I love to do musicals.
Mm-hmm.
I came to New York City to go to school at the American Musical and Dramatic Arts Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And I did musical theater
Mm-hmm.
after that for a good solid 2 years doing regional, and I did some tours, and it was a blast.
Yeah.
I didn't like the auditioning part at all.
Mm-hmm.
I am not hesitant to admit that I have had my struggles with anxiety. I get
Mm-hmm.
really nervous,
Mm-hmm.
which is also something I'm very open about when I'm teaching, because I
Yeah.
feel that it kind of gives me an edge as an instructor, because I can be understanding and compassionate of, other people
Yeah.
feeling nervous, and can give people tips and tricks, how to deal with that. But yeah, so I didn't really like the auditioning part. I was kind of in a little bit of a slump, and someone said they were taking an improv class and that it was a lot of fun, and I didn't really have a lot going on. I had like come off the road, and I don't know, I just like wasn't feeling motivated to
Mm-hmm.
keep auditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, I'll take a class. And that was in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And that was at Gotham City Improv.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just kept going.
Yeah.
When I was in level 2, level 3, I met Brad Barton,
Mm-hmm.
who is now my husband of 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we continued on that improv journey together.
Yeah.
Let's see, I was at Gotham, like that was my home base, did
Mhm.
lots of performing and teaching and coaching ensembles. But I also had studied at Upright Citizens Brigade around that
Mhm.
same time for a
Yeah.
while. And that was early on, so I was fortunate enough to have Matt Walsh as an instructor, and
Mhm.
Matt Besser and Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool time to be there. But it was also, like, for me as a highly sensitive person, very nerve-wracking place to be, because it was very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And at Gotham City Improv, I felt free to try things and experiment and
Yeah.
get outside of my comfort zone. So I did not stay on the UCB path.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed like in my own small pond, which
Mhm.
I'm very grateful for, because I feel it enabled me to. We did experimental shows where we were like, we're from the future, and we'd interview somebody, and then we're coming back to 20, what, it was like 2002 or something at the time. We're coming back to 2002, and we're going to see where everything went wrong, and long form improvisation. And we
Yeah.
had like flight suits, and we hung plastic up on the walls of the theater, and
Yeah.
hung light bulbs from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fairly experimental, but like I said, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
And so and the aughts, it was like a great scene. Like, And then the People's Improv Theater opened, and the
Mhm.
Magnet opened, and I knew
Mhm.
a lot of people who were doing stuff there, but I loved Gotham. I mean, I did eventually go to the Magnet for a little bit, maybe in the teens,
Mhm.
and I was in an ensemble there. So I have like floated around to different places. I've done a show at the Pit. That's the
Mhm.
People's Improv Theater. I don't know. I was like in the scene there for a long time, and now I have the privilege of performing with Montclair Improv Comedy, which is a group of veteran improvisers
Mhm.
who like performed at Second City or
Yeah.
IO or UCB or out in California, and they had kids and then moved to New Jersey, and then it was hard to get into the city again. So
Right.
that's been a lot of fun, and also performing in New Jersey with Vivid Stage. So
Yeah.
I am also teaching and performing with Improvolution in the city. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great, though. I mean, you've had a great career and experience doing all of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't really plan on like going from musical theater into improv,
Yeah.
and for a while there, I was like, what am I doing? I'm like getting day jobs and we're
Right.
doing improv, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And
Right.
yeah, but I just kept following that path because that's what felt fun and good and satisfying for me.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. So you work a lot with kids at Rocket Improv, correct?
Yes.
So what makes improv specifically a skill that is beneficial for kids to learn?
For kids, for anybody really, and it's the
Mhm.
listening and teamwork
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch them get that, especially as they grow and their brain develops, because
Yeah.
developmentally, it is difficult for them to work as a team. And then somewhere like in the middle school years,
Mhm.
as they become more self-aware, they also become more aware of others.
Yep.
And I can see like their brains, like, especially those who had started with me when they're young,
Mhm.
and then they continue as improvisers like throughout middle school.
Yeah.
The growth is amazing. So let's say like my 8th graders
Mhm.
that I have in the program, when I work with 8th graders who have never done improv before, it's almost impossible for
Oh,
them.
wow.
It is like the
Yeah.
toughest age to do improv.
Right.
But the improvisers who have been in my program who are 8th graders,
Mhm.
they are able to listen to other people's ideas and build on other people's ideas.
Mhm.
They're able to put themselves out there
Mhm.
with not a lot of self-consciousness.
Mhm. Yeah.
Their level of self-consciousness is far lower
Mhm.
than an 8th grader who's maybe never done improv or theater or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, they're much more willing to not be in control.
Mhm.
It's like an 8th grader or maybe even 9th grader, they really want to be in control. So my
Right.
ideas, I want to be funny. Like,
Right.
but
Right.
the ones who have been with a program, like they understand.
Yeah.
It's about listening, agreeing to what's being established, and yeah, working together as a team. They really get that.
Yeah. That's great. So, do you find that the kids who are younger tend to be more outgoing naturally, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but they need to work on teamwork
Right.
primarily. So they have no problems with being silly,
Yeah.
which is also something we work on in improv classes. Like once you, I don't know, once you like hit puberty,
Yeah.
then it's hard to like be silly in front of other people. Like,
Yeah.
but before then, like they can be silly, they can play characters, but they're very much like in their own me, my thing, my world. This is my
Right.
world, and you're in it.
Right.
Yeah. So like we want to, again, not just I, but we, because I have a team of teaching artists, wonderful teaching artists who all have improv experience, who work with the kids, want them to maintain that willingness to be silly as they start becoming more self-aware.
Right. Right. And these are all skills that transfer into the real world as you grow older, too, being able to listen and work as a team. This is all stuff that continues to be important, not just in improv, but across the board, whatever
Yes.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who has ever tried improv they have that aha moment, which
Yeah.
I've heard a million times.
Right.
They say, "Oh my gosh, this is good for so many things." I'm
Right.
like, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm glad you see that.
It has value. It's important.
Yes, you don't need to ever perform.
Right.
You can use these skills in work, in your social life.
Mm-hmm.
They are valuable. How can we be more present with each other and
Yeah.
really take in what other people are saying?
Yeah. Do you find that it's different now that social media is so prevalent that, and coming out of the pandemic, do you find that it's harder to make those connections and to get them to participate in improv, or is it still the same?
Oof, that's a good question. I think improv helps them to make those like in real life connections. And I
Yeah.
think that is a big value that we offer
Mm-hmm.
is it's a non-screen
Mm-hmm.
connecting in real life
Yeah.
activity,
Yeah.
especially since the pandemic. I
Yeah.
do feel it's more important,
Mm-hmm.
anything where you can get kids together
Mm-hmm.
and it's not really like a social skills activity, but then again, it is.
Mm-hmm.
That there is that element as well, taking
Yeah.
turns.
Right.
One of the things we teach the kids, we teach them about focus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll just go through the three like pillars:
Yeah.
focus, team, and respect.
Mm-hmm.
So with a focus, like who has the focus? If someone has the focus, we're giving them focus.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to talk more than anybody else or over anybody else, which we call watching our airtime.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one mic at a time, only one person's holding the mic,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise there's just a lot of talking, and in the scenes they're talking over each other, or even just, when I'm explaining a game, if someone's like
Right.
talking to their neighbor, like remember where the focus is. We want to be able to give the focus. That's something that they probably, the younger ones especially,
Right.
work on the most is like, who has the focus? We need to give them focus.
Right. Right. That makes sense. Great. So I read that, and we've talked about this a little bit, but that you worked with corporate companies like Johnson & Johnson and L'Oreal. And so, like I said, we've already talked about this a little bit, but why is improv important in a corporate environment?
Sure, it can be used for several reasons, and different businesses have different goals.
Mm-hmm.
For some of them, it's just to connect in a different way because they're so accustomed to dealing with each other and seeing each other in just, a specific environment as opposed to in a mode of play,
Yeah.
which expands your relationships. It expands your knowledge of the other person just because you're interacting with them in a different way.
Right.
Right. So play is important. You can Google why is play important.
Right.
There are so many articles out there about why it's important.
Right.
Also, the idea of taking in other people's ideas. And in improv, what you bring to the table does not need to be brilliant or creative. If it did, if we put that pressure on ourselves, he would not say anything.
Right.
We would just think, oh, I don't know, which is also like a moment I need to help students get past.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not just yes sending other people, you're yes sending yourself.
Yeah.
It's like the first thing that comes, it's enough.
Yeah.
It's enough. So in a corporate environment, allowing everybody to be on the same page with just presenting that one it's enough idea. And then letting that percolate, letting that marinate, as opposed to like, yes, but,
Right.
right?
Right.
Just be open, be curious, be interested. If everybody, and say like a group of 7, can adopt that mindset, then everybody's going to feel more comfortable taking risks,
Yeah.
trying things.
Yeah.
It could end up just helping the team become more innovative. People feel safe. Yeah. So, the foundations of improv, in, bringing them on, the idea of like supporting each other and having each other's back helps create a safe environment.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why then it's not scary, because everybody knows that everybody has their back.
Right. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier, too, about as kids get older, it's hard for them to play and just find that silliness. And as adults, I think we struggle with that, too.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes the best ideas come out of creativity and playfulness. And so being able to find that again is so important.
Yeah. And in play, how much control do we have?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, it's letting go of that control and just kind of giving over to the moment. There needs to be a buy-in, right? Just like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go along with this. And, when it's done, most people feel uplifted.
So you come and you work here at Your Third Base.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you find us and what made you want to come work here?
I had been considering coming to a co-working space because I get a little bogged down by working at home. So I can work from home. I can work from anywhere during the day. That's when I do my admin tasks.
Yep.
And then I typically teach in the afternoons or in the evening.
Yep.
So I was working at home during the day and just having a hard time focusing on work.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my God, that's dusty.
Right.
All I need to do is some laundry. And I also have a teenager who's taking a gap year. So, like, he's around and has needs and, wants to chat. And I really enjoy coming here. Even though I don't come every day, I still feel like there's a community here. And I see people that I know, and it's fun to chat. And sometimes I'll, like, work and have lunch.
Yeah.
And I'm just able to focus up. I'll work in the cafe. I'll work at one of the hot desks. If I really need to focus, I will use my credits to get a private office,
Yep.
which I do from time to time and really enjoy. I like taking meetings in the phone booths.
Yeah.
I'm just very grateful to have this as a place that I can go to that really helps me focus.
What advice do you have for other business owners out there?
I think having a network or support group is extremely helpful. I was and still am actually a member of a networking group for women who are moms and own business. And I joined that group 9 years ago when I had my second baby. And I showed up at my first meeting with a little baby on my chest. He was like 3 months old. And I was just an independent contractor at the time, so like a freelance teaching artist.
Yeah.
And in being with that group and meeting with them once a month, when I could swing it, I was able to, be inspired enough, get enough information to start my own business.
Yeah.
And my website designer is in that group with me. The person I hired to organize my Google Workspace folders system is in that group. I love working with people in the community. It's like almost everyone I work with is someone that I know or have met.
Yeah.
In fact, here at Your Third Base, I met a small business lawyer. And so then I hired him to help me apply for my trademark. And he's looking at my contracts and agreements.
That's great.
Yeah, and just knowing people and having people you can call. You refer people, other people refer you.
Yeah.
It's really the support group and the system that you have built up around you that I feel is instrumental.
For anyone who wants to check you guys out or maybe come see one of your shows in Montclair, where can they find Rocket Improv and where can they find more information about you?
Yeah, sure. Well, rocketimprovcomedy.com. We have information about our D&D sessions and our corporate event offerings, classes, of course, kids' classes.
Yeah.
We do not offer regularly scheduled classes for adults.
Mm-hmm.
That we do not do. But I do have places that I recommend if anybody reaches out to me for classes.
Yeah.
I have my little template, like, here are some places in the area that you can contact for that. So I perform with Vivid Stage in Summit with a group called The Flip Side. So vividstage.org. And I perform with Montclair Improv Comedy in Montclair at Montclair Film. So that information is on the Montclair Film site.
Great.
Oh, and Improvolution in New York City. If you want to take classes in New York City, I highly recommend Improvolution. It's a great place. It's a woman-run and led business, which has been a pretty amazing experience for me as a teacher. And so I recommend them as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was such a fun conversation. I loved it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So make sure that you check out Rocket Improv, take a look at all of Lulu's sites, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode of the Your Third Base Meet Our Members series was filmed at our podcast studio in Maplewood, New Jersey. If you'd like to learn more about our offerings, including co-working, private offices, and bookable spaces like the podcast studio, visit our website, yourthirdbase.com. Thank you again to Lulu for being our guest this week, and stay tuned for more episodes coming soon.